Hello, folks, and welcome back to Gearbox Podcast, your weekly dose of podcast. I'm Nick,
And the Moxi?
and ladies and gentlemen, F1 is back with the testing after all this patience that we had with the winter breaks. And to be honest with you, Moxie, I think time flew by quite fast in the winter break with all, and it was quite acceptable time wise.
Yeah, indeed, because like we had that break from YouTube for quite a while, and then the time flies. So yeah, and right now we're waiting for the Formula One season to start. Only 1 week remains, and we're just hyped.
Yeah, and just like that, the 3 days of testing have passed, of course. We've seen the cars on the secure circuit. And to be honest with you, I have some unbelievable opinions, to be honest with you. You know, Aston Martin is looking pretty fast out there. Something that I personally did not expect. The car looks good, but of course, at the end of the 2022 season, they were really fast too. They were picking up the pace and everything. So I guess it makes some sense. And even though in day two, Joe Guan Yu topped the sessions, which is really impressive. Alex Albon did a pretty good result in the morning session of day one. Some pretty interesting things happened in these 3 days. Moxie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Aston Martin drivers pacing up with field. We saw them quite fast in these sessions of the practice, these 3 days. And as you said, we saw Aston Martin be really fast, which means that they might have some sort of impact this season. I mean, it's quite early to talk about it, but still, it's like a whole image for the drivers. Yeah, I mean, we also saw Joe Guan Yu being really fast. I don't know which session was it. I mean,
Day two,
it was
yeah,
like in the
in
practice
day
sessions,
two,
but
yeah.
yeah, it was the second day. It was the second day. And yeah, also Alfa Romeo were quite fast in my opinion. So I think we're going to see some teams that didn't have an impact on the previous season, but this one is going to be different. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, it's honestly something really interesting because even though from the winter break, the regulations were not a big of a change as well. So I was not expecting so many constructors or uh, in the standings pretty much comparing to the 2022 and the 2023 season. But it's looking pretty good from a testing point of view. But of course, there's some parameters that we have to take into perspective, such as sandbagging, which is something that increases the weight of the Formula One car, which is something that I guess many teams could be using because the results that are bringing that they brought in the 3 days of testing were quite different, to be honest, especially with Haas in the top speeds. And of course, they're trying to use different parts to see which ones are faster. But the one thing that we should probably focus that one driver had some problems with the car in total, in the fuel, in my opinion. And the only one who did a pirouette, or I guess spun the car, is Oscar Piastri, which is quite interesting, because I was not expecting the McLarens to be so unstable in the car. It looks like they might have some problems.
Yeah, yeah, they might have some sort of problem in their car, but I think that McLaren will prove themselves that they're a good team and solve them before the whole Formula One season starts. And let's hope that they're going to have a solid uh, result in the next season's start off of the Formula One season.
Right. So as you probably understood from the podcast title and the thumbnail, our main topic is about the liveries, and of course, every livery has been presented right now, and it's looking pretty good. To be honest, not so many changes, but still, you don't have to change something that isn't broken, in my opinion. So, in the previous podcast, of course, with the drivers and constructors' predictions, we talked about the Red Bull livery, of course. That was the only one that had been presented. But now let's talk about all the teams in total. So, Moxie, tell us your opinion about the liveries.
So all deliveries have been revealed for this Formula One season. Not so many changes, but still it's quite good to see the what the teams have been thinking all these days, all the whole in the whole winter break. So we have a lot of things to comment about deliveries, and let's start off with Red Bull One. So the Red Bull One, for the Red Bull livery for the Formula 1023 season has not changed, in my opinion, and it has some differences in the whole sponsors. Like we can see other sponsors as well. We can see that it has not changed as much as we wanted to. But I mean, I'm not a Red Bull fan, so it's a solid one. And like, if I had to rate it, I'll give it like 6 out of 10 in my opinion. It's not that good and not that impressive. What about you, Mo? What about you, Nick?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the livery, I guess, but it's still good. I mean that the colors in total with the Red Bull logo and the black to, I guess, kind of dark blue navy style color that they use in the car is really nice. Of course, I am quite nostalgic, and I wish they could put a bit of a purple color like in the 2011 or 2012 season that they used to have, which is quite disappointing. But in total, I guess I quite have to agree with you on this. 6 out of 10. It's a nice livery, but still, I wish it could change a bit.
Yeah, like they could put some other colors, like the purple, as you said. But yeah, it's a solid one and one that it's easy and easy to remember and nostalgic as well. So let's move on to the Ferrari livery for this Formula 1 2023 season. Again, the livery has not changed. It doesn't have a dramatic change. We can see that the Ferrari team kept the red and black color. Of course, I think that they put the black color in the red one, and they, brought that red monotony, and we can see that they have a two colors in the car, with the halo being gray, with the halo being black as well. And yeah, a really interesting one. And if I had to rate it, I would give it an 8 out of 10, solid one, and of course better than the Red Bull one. What about you, Nick?
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, I really liked it more than last season, the livery. Still, with not so many changes, of course, Ferrari has to be red. Like, imagine another color for Ferrari, it just doesn't stick. And in my opinion, with the white that they've added, something that was quite missing in the last year's F1 car, it's nice to be honest. It's clean, it's sharp, and the car with the livery looks good on circuit as well. Luckily, with the car launch, we saw a really nice car launch from the Scuderia team with the fans in the circuit of Fiorano, and in total, it looks good, and I would probably rate it as well an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so we have common ratings, which is something that we don't used to see.
At the moment.
And yeah, at the moment we'll see. We'll see while we'll go on with liveries. Now let's move on to the Mercedes one. Probably one of my favorite, as it has changed a lot. The Mercedes team decided to clear out the white theme, and they brought black back as in 2000, as in Formula 1 2021 season. We can see that the Mercedes team has kept the light blue color, and of course they have put the yellow one, which wasn't in the previous season. Pretty solid one. I really like it, and as it is, and because it's my favorite, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. What about you, Nick?
Well, it's a really nice livery. I will have to agree with you on this. I like the fact that they're back in black, of course. Mercedes, the silver arrows are starting to be more of a black arrow, I guess, and they have a good history in their black liveries. So I definitely can see this as a livery of the season, and I really like it as well. And I also like that Hamilton has a more yellowish color in the car rather than George, who has a green in some certain parts of the car, which is it's really nice. And I like that each driver has their own livery style, pretty much. But uh, and also in a more overall perspective, they're obviously trying to save weight with not using any paint at all, and they're using only carbon fiber, which is why it's so black. And I'm not a huge fan of not having so many bright colors, but again, I will have to give it a 9 out of 10. Still not the perfect, but might be one of the best of the season.
Okay. Yeah, and I can explain the reason why I put the 10 out of 10. It's because I'm a Mercedes fan and I have huge perspectives for this season. And I think that we're going to see Mercedes coming back. So let's move on to Nick's favorite team, McLaren. So
Definitely.
yeah, the McLaren livery is quite good actually. In my opinion, is better than the previous one. It has, of course, the black and orange colors, and they have put some pink on it, and of course uh, the Google Chrome sponsor hits on the spot, and the tires have that colorful theme, which is quite similar to the previous one. And I'll give it an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, which is quite good. And yeah, I think that Nick is going to even rate this one higher than me or the same as me. Nick, what do you think?
Well, I like delivery more than last year, of course. Not like the other liveries that we've seen through past the couple of years of the papaya, but still, I like the fact that they've kept the blue in one piece and they've not separated it like last year. Of course, the number colors that they had for Daniel Ricciardo, the number three, and Fernando Norris, the number four, has changed. They had a light blue, now they have it on a black color, which is nice because I was not a big fan of the blue that they were using. The blue color is a bit darker, which is an improvement in my opinion. But hopefully, because just like Mercedes, but not that much, they're trying to save weight by removing color, by removing paint, and hopefully they put more papaya in it. It's a nice livery, but I would rate it an 8 out of 10, just like you.
Okay. And something that I noticed, they have the WebEx as a sponsor, which is quite interesting. And yeah, let's move on. Uh, let's move on to Alfa Romeo, uh, a livery that I really like. Okay, is I think that it's the second most favorite, and the red and black colors. It's a really interesting one, and I really like it. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And it's not as it has changed a lot, of course. It's not the same as the previous one. It has some changes which make the Alfa Romeo livery even better than it was last year, because last year it was quite they particularly had the red color, and in this season they're going to use the black one as well. What about you, Nick?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not such a big fan of delivery in total. I like the mixture of the colors as well, adding the red as well. But yeah, for me, it's just not a nice. It's not a nice one. They've changed the colors quite a lot, and still not a big fan of it. So I guess a 6 out of 10 is for me.
Okay, so this is the first time that our opinions have been separated, of course, for this video. And now let's move on to Alpha Tauri, a really interesting one, as they have brought the Formula 1 2021 theme. I really like it. They've put white and dark blue, and of course the red halo hits on the spot. A really interesting one. I really like it, so I'll give it 7 out of 10. So yeah, it's not, in my opinion, it's not better than the Alfa Romeo, so that's why I've put the 7 out of 10. But still, it's a solid one, and I have to give it to the Alfa Romeo team, the Alfa Tauri team. What about you, Nick?
Well, yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it, to be honest, with AlphaTauri, a team which since 2020, which they've changed from Toro Rosso to AlphaTauri. We've seen the white and the black since then, and it's quite grown on me, to be honest. Of course, with the new sponsor Orlen, which adds a bit red to it, I am just not a big fan of it, to be honest with you. But I guess it has some good parts. Depends on the perspective that you see it. So I guess I'm gonna rate it a 7 out of 10. Better than the Alfa Romeo one for sure, but not that much in my opinion. So 7 out of 10.
Exactly. So let's move on to Alpine. Uh, a livery that is quite similar to the previous one. It has some changes, of course. The whole blue and pink theme hits on the spot as well. I really like it. The blue halo is also interesting, and I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's not that it is bad, but it's quite basic. It's not fantastic. It's not extraordinary. So yeah, that's why I'll give it a 6 out of 10. And of course, with the two French drivers, I think that Alpine is going to do well.
Well, yeah, it's just like you said, it's quite hasn't changed a lot, and but still, just like I said with the Rebel livery, it's a nice livery in total, and I like it. Of course, I wish they had because of the BWT sponsor. Unfortunately, they have to use a mixture of blue and pink. I just wish that they could use a probably a yellow color because of the Renault power unit that they are using because the power unit is called still Renault and they hasn't changed it to Alpine yet. I wish they could just do a blue and yellow mixture rather than a blue and pink. But still, I have to say it's one of my favorites, so I'll have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so let's move on to Aston Martin, the team that had Sebastian Vettel the previous year, and unfortunately, he decided to retire. Uh, hashtag Dankeseb, of course, and is a livery that has changed. Not that much. It has that yellow line on the bottom of the car. We can see that they have also added the black color with the halo being black, and it's a solid one, but not something special. So that's why I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Quite interesting, and of course, having Fernando Alonso in the team is interesting as well. What about you, Nick?
Yes, so in my opinion, not a big fan of it. With just having a green color. Don't judge me on this. I guess that Mercedes have done the same thing, but I just don't like the fact that the whole car is green with some spots with a halo, just like you said, being black. I just don't quite enjoy it, and even though with the driver pairings, just like you said, with Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, which is a nice pairing, I just don't like it, the livery in total. I just don't think it's going to suit the grid in total. So I will have to put it a 4 out of 10.
Okay, so let's move on to the Haas team. A really interesting team because they're going to have the best two drivers. Of course, I'm talking about Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. We all know the meme. I'm not going to talk about it, but let's talk
Suck my
about the
balls,
livery.
mate. Suck my.
Let's talk about the livery. White and black. It has changed. I mean, it's not like the previous one with a new sponsor, MoneyGram, being on the car. The white halo is also interesting to see, and of course, and not. I mean, if I had to rate it, of course, I'll give it 5 out of 10. Not a big fan of it, but it's quite good. So yeah, it's quite basic, and we have seen a lot of uh, liveries that are basic. So I think that maybe a 7 out of 10. Let's be honest. Okay, I was a bit harsh. 7 out of 10 is quite good for this one. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, just like the Aston Martin livery, not a big fan of it. So I don't like the way that they've a whole designed with the MyGram sponsor, the red, the white, and the black, just like with Alpha Tauri. I don't think it stands out really well, and it's not a nice mixture with the old colors that Haas used to have with the new white and red that they have. I just I don't really like it, and just like I said with the Aston Martin one, it's not gonna stick out nicely on the grid. So I'm gonna go with your original opinion on this livery, and I'm gonna say a 5 out of 10 is I think the best for this livery.
Okay, quite harsh with this one, but I mean, everyone can have his opinion, I guess. So let's go on. I think to the last livery. I'm talking about the Williams one. Quite interesting with the blue and the light blue, of course, and a bit of red color, some orange on it. Quite interesting. It hasn't really. It's not that I don't. It's not that I hate it, but it could have been better. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Quite boring and not that special. So that's why I'm giving it 6 out of 10. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, the Williams livery was one that I really wanted to see because they partnered with Golf, and the last time that we saw a Golf livery was with McLaren, and oh my God, I really want to see this livery back on the grid. Hopefully, we don't really have to wait a lot for this, but I kind of have to agree with you. It's quite boring. It's just like the last year's one, but with the slight, I guess, reddish orange that they use in the position where they had the red in the 2022 season. I kind of like it, and it's a nice livery overall with nice colors. I'll have to give it a 8 out of 10.
Okay, so I think that we're done with the liveries. Nick, it's up to you.
Yes, I think that's it. Yes. So 10 liveries for the 10 teams of the 2023 F1 season. We thank you that you've listened to our podcast once again. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do because we are about to start the 2023 season. And let me tell you what, we're going to upload like hell and with preview podcasts about the circuits that we started doing, and it's pretty much where all the podcast has started on. You should definitely watch out for these coming up. And well, Moxie, to be honest with you, I just can't wait for the season to start.
Yeah, Nick, me as well. It's like the whole countdown has started. 7 days, 6 days till the practice session, 7 days till the qualifying session, and of course, 8 days till the Grand Prix starts of the Bahrain of Formula One and 2023 season. Hope you guys like this video, as Nick said in the beginning. And yeah, do you have to comment anything else, Nick?
No, just it's been Nick,
It's been Moxi.
and we'll see you guys for the next one. See ya.
See you guys.